Tennessee Titans fans, we have reached the home stretch. 3 days away from the NFL Draft 2025, and just in time, Mel Kiper and Field Yates are here to give their final thoughts on the top 10 picks ahead of round one on Thursday night. And you already know the part of the clip we're watching. Is it a foregone conclusion? Is it a foregone conclusion? Let's hear it.
They have not really done much in terms of padding the depth of that. I guess they have padded the depth of the quarterback room, but they haven't found a legitimate starter if they wanted to supplant Will Levis through the draft, through free agency or a trade. So Cam Ward, who is the 6th overall player on my big board, who led the FBS with 39 passing touchdowns last year, will be the Tennessee Titans quarterback come Thursday night, a little after 7 o'clock Green Bay time as the draft gets rolling.
Will be. 3 days before the draft, and we have arrived at the point where they are saying Cam Ward will be, not might be, not could possibly be. Some of y'all are still in denial. In my comments section, y'all are still talking about Abdul Carter. Y'all are still talking about Shedeur Sanders. You're still talking about Travis Hunter. You're still talking about trading back. You're in denial. The Tennessee Titans will select Cam Ward.
Yeah, he has to be for them because they are a team with Brian Callahan wants to handpick their quarterback. And like I said, he wants a guy that can throw it all over the yard when everybody knows you're throwing. This guy has the arm talent. GM coming from Mahomes. Kind of, you see those arm angles that Mahomes throws.
How long until Mel says that he still believes in Will Levis? You know Mel is not going to talk about the Tennessee Titans quarterback situation without acknowledging that he still likes Will Levis.
From. So I think they're trying to hit a grand slam or a home run here. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to swing for the fences.
The draft.
And that's what they want at quarterback. And like I said, the days of the single double are over. So this is what you're trying to do. You're not taking the best player in the draft, number one here. You're not taking the second, third, fourth best player. Okay. You know, you're probably taking anywhere between the 5th and the 10th best player. Field, I'll ask you. I have Cam Ward at 6. Yep. Where's Cam Ward on your board? I can tell you consensus in the league. Where do you have him?
Yeah, I have him 6. And I think that's probably closer to the high end of where many in the league evaluate him. He does have some huge fans in the NFL, but there are other people that are more skeptical. Actually, Shefty had a column that dropped on ESPN.com today in which he noted one general manager doesn't have a first-round grade on any quarterback this year. So we've been talking about Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart maybe being further down the board from Cam Ward, but this particular GM feels like none of these quarterbacks are worthy of first-round picks.
Okay, whatever. All I know is that if the Browns were number 1, they would take him. If the Giants were number 1, they would take him. If the Saints were number 1, they would take him. If the Jets were number 1, they would take him. If the Raiders were number 1, they probably would not have even traded for Geno Smith because they would have taken Cam Ward. Here's the bottom line. If the Tennessee Titans are convinced, if based on their scouting and their interviews and pro days and combines and all that, if they're convinced that Cam Ward is their guy, great. Like, why are we still, like, I don't know why we're still acting like Cam Ward. I mean, I don't know who this GM is that didn't even have a first-round grade on him. But, I mean, dude, come on. If there's no first-round grade on him, then why have we spent weeks talking about the Browns trading up for him, the Giants trading up for him, the Saints trading up for him, the Jets trading up for him? Give me a break.
I do think, though, given how Tennessee's offseason has unfolded, this is the only thing that is a stone-cold 100% lock as of Monday morning of draft week.
Well, let me just stay on that for a minute, because I think this is an interesting question. The term quarterback tax is one that I like, because we all understand a quarterback who is the 6th best player in the draft is vastly different from a guard who is the 6th best player in the draft.
Absolutely.
Mel, you're the one that I learned all of this from, about value, the board, and all that kind of stuff. Is that the right spot? I mean, is 6-1 the right move to make for a team? Is that too much of a reach if the player is a quarterback relative to any other position?
Well, I can tell you that I'm sure the Tennessee Titans have them number one on their boards, because boards can change the night before, the morning of, and you're going to basically assign grades to justify a pick. And you're going to say Cam Ward. If they're taking Cam Ward over a generational talent in Travis Hunter, who's unique and never seen before, and they could certainly use, or an Abdul Carter, an edge rusher that they need, who's the second best player in this draft in terms of my grades, and Cam Ward isn't even in the top 5, and you're picking number 1. You pick number 1, you want the best player in the draft, but it is a quarterback. And to your point, Greeny, it's positional value. And like I say, rest assured.
I agree with the point that when you have a quarterback, whether he's the 5th or 6th best player in the draft, quarterback's a different beast, dude. It's just a different thing. He mentioned a guard, but I mean anything, guard, tackle, edge, wide receiver. Mike Morganzi, the new GM of the Titans, said that quarterback is the most important position in sports. And it is. It's that important that, okay, maybe you take the 6th best player in the draft at number 1 because he's a quarterback and you believe in him.
They have him higher than 5 or 6 on their board. So they're going to say, hey, this is the guy with incredible arm talent, played at 3 different schools, played really well, improved in the areas he needed to, which is taking better care of the football, and he's going to be our guy to get us to the level we need to get to. So again, this is a new coach in terms of the quarterback, second-year coach, but new coach for this quarterback. Okay, he's going to handpick his quarterback. He inherited the other quarterback, Will Levis. This GM is going to do the exact same thing. First pick, I want to try to find it has unique talent. Keep in mind, Patrick Mahomes, who we're saying has elements of Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was passed over for Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes didn't go in the top 8, 9 of the draft either. So he, like Cam.
That's what's important also to remember when you hear about, oh, this GM doesn't even think Cam Ward's a first-round talent. This GM doesn't like him. This GM's not a big fan of him. 9 teams passed on Patrick Mahomes. 1 chose Mitch Trubisky instead of him. It's kind of a crapshoot. There have been plenty. I mean, Tom Brady was taken in the late rounds. That's the most infamous case. But we see all the time. Chicago was much higher on Caleb Williams than they were on Jaden Daniels. It wasn't even a contest. We never even discussed Jaden Daniels going ahead of Caleb Williams. But I bet they'd take Jaden now. So just because a certain team or a certain GM or a certain owner doesn't view a quarterback in a certain way, hey, we've seen that before. That happens all the time, not just with quarterbacks, but with any position where you have a team that, or a GM that looks at a guy and says, I don't think that's a first-round talent, but there's some other GMs in the league who believe that's the guy we want.
Cam Ward didn't have that high grade like we talked about. Somebody traded up from 3 to 2 to get Mitchell Trubisky. Nobody traded up into the top 5, 6, 7 to get Patrick Mahomes.
Unbelievable. By the way, I think the only player, so I think that the Titans are justified in their confidence in Cam Ward, especially, as I mentioned, given the context of how their offseason has unfolded to this point. I believe, and this is to not discredit Abdul Carter at all, I believe the only player in this draft who we're reasonably talking about as the number 1 overall pick, which is really 3 guys, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, that can make Tennessee rue this decision 3, 4, 5 years from now, is Travis Hunter for this.
Good point there. With the nature of this draft, I know Travis Hunter's a great player. I know Abdul Carter's a great player, but you're not exactly looking at like, if you pass on that guy, you are going to regret it. Like, I just don't. This isn't one of those drafts.
Reason. If Abdul Carter hits his peak value, Greeny, we're talking about a great player, right? A great pass rusher. There are quite a few of those, though, right? The NFL leader in sacks last year, Trey Hendrickson, did not make the playoffs. Not because it was his fault, but right, the influence of the NFL's leading sacker is not as significant as the NFL's influence of a top 10 quarterback. But if Travis Hunter emerges and becomes a Pro Bowler on one side of the ball and a solid starter on the other, I mean, we haven't seen that in my lifetime in the NFL. So that's the only player that 5 years from now, we could be looking back at Tennessee and saying, Cam Ward's fine, but not special, and Travis Hunter is special on, call it 1.5 sides of the ball. That being said, I think knowing everything that we know, where Tennessee is at right now, and the fact that this is a team where they could have opted for patience and said, we're just going to kick the can on quarterback and either take Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, or trade down and get a bunch of picks. The fact that they made their decision to stay at number one, I'm fine with Cam Ward. And again, it's the only thing that we know 3 days out is an absolute stone cold lock.
All right, so then we get to 2, and we've already.
A stone cold lock. There you have it, folks. And listen, as far as Travis Hunter, I understand, great player. I don't buy that he's going to be able to play both sides of the ball in the NFL. I think he's going to get hurt. I think that is too much to ask of a human being. But it's just, I think that you can get all the edge rushers and the wide receivers you want, but the only thing that's going to move the needle is the quarterback. You have to get that figured out. And if you've got a guy here that you believe in, I don't care if he's the 5th best player in the draft or the 6th best. He needs to be number 1 on your board. And apparently I believe he is for the Titans. Tighten up, everybody.